What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Wars in the Stars, episode 39. Uh, I know we're doing it a little bit early this week, but Alex just told me he couldn't make it today, and he couldn't make it tomorrow either. So we're gonna do a kind of a quick show today. Probably only go about 30, 40 minutes. Uh, I did a Clone Wars rewatch. I'm not sure if Alex watched it. Uh, so we'll talk about the Clone Wars movie. We'll talk a little bit about some of the early reviews for Marvel's Eternals. We'll talk about Hawkeye having two episodes on its premiere day. We'll talk a little bit about DC Fandome, and we'll talk a little bit about Disney delaying some of the Marvel movies. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. Going to be a little bit shorter of a show today, as I was alluding to. Um, Yeah, just because I feel like it, and plus there's really not a lot to talk about. But anyways, we'll talk a little bit now about the Clone Wars movie. I took some notes during it, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about those. Um, Obviously, some of the animation is a little wonky. It is 13 years old, but more specifically, the explosions, like lasers and movements, especially of background movements, they just look unfinished by today's standards. They just look a little wonky. They look a little weird to me, but that's what I thought. The first battle of Christophsis feels way too long. Should have just started with the deflector shields. I feel like I'll get into this later, but there feels like repetitive things happening in the movie. Like there's a lot of repetitiveness, and this is the start of it. Where the Jedi and the Republic gets in trouble, somebody comes and bails them out. They get in trouble again. They get bailed out again. It's just like a repetitive cycle of that. So, and the Battle of Christophsis feels like seven different things. They should have either A, just started with the deflector shield thing and then introduced Ahsoka somehow into that, instead of just having that whole battle going on. Because they introduced in the beginning scene Jabba's son getting kidnapped. That is the main premise of the movie. In the first, like, third of it, it's just about this battle of Christophsis that really has no intrigue or really has nothing significant at the plot. In the early stages, the Hut Dark Side plan was way more interesting. Again, I kind of touched on that. Like Dooku's plan with the Huts in general, that was way more captivating. And I think throughout the movie, that is just way more captivating than whatever the hell is going on with Jabba's son, like Battle on Teth, some of the humor. Again, I know this was designed for kids, but like the Dark Side plan, Palpatine's Sidious's brief appearance, Dooku was good, I thought, in this. I like how it's, playing both sides. Um, but yeah, the dark side stuff early was good. It tampers off at the end. But my recap overall for Christophsis was I really liked Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship. We could kind of see it start to blossom. Uh, eh, it's really enjoyable, and yeah, I like it. It makes sense to me. I like, you know, you stuck with me, Sky Guy. It's really quippy and weird humor, and it's like something probably as I get older that I'll cringe at. But this movie has a nostalgic feeling to me. So I really enjoyed their dialogue. I really enjoyed their dynamic. I enjoyed the conversation Ahsoka has with Rex. It's echoed again later in Clone War seasons and obviously Rebels, when Ahsoka has a lot of experience. So I love that conversation. I love the conversations Anakin and Ahsoka have. Anakin's now in the Obi-Wan role. He doesn't know how to deal with it. So it's very cool to see Anakin in that light, I think, in my opinion. Uh, Move forward. It should have been either shorter or longer. The pacing feels off. Now, what I mean by that is either A, the movie should have been about this, should have been like whole battle with Ahsoka, uh, or it should have been just way shorter. Should have just been the introduction of Ahsoka and the deflector shield thing. We didn't need that first part with like, oh, supply lines, this and that. I feel like that could have just been cut out. The pacing just feels really odd, and I'll get into that more as we get deeper in. It feels like things either just are wrongly paced. They should have A, been shorter, or B, been way longer. And they could have done either one, and I feel like it would have worked better, especially with Kristoff's battle. The battle feels way too long. I feel like either the A, you could have just kept everything on Kristoff's. Like, for example, they had in season two, they have the other arcs to this. They have the Admiral Trench part of this, and then they have the Traitor arc, right? And we kind of needed to establish more about Rex and Cody for the Traitor arc with Slick to happen. I get that. But we would get that first fight with Ventress. I feel like we would have gotten more Anakin and Obi-Wan, which I think is deeply missed in this movie. So I think that could have been beneficial as well. You could have made the whole Christophsis arc the movie, not have two things going on at once. I feel like the Christophsis arc, its main purpose is just to introduce Ahsoka, but I think it could have been cut down way shorter, or it could have been just a whole thing that they're on Christophsis. They should have just picked one or the other. I like that. I also said that I wish there was more Anakin and Obi-Wan. I get a little bit of their relationship, but I feel like later episodes and seasons subsequently do a better job of that than this movie. I also said this feels just like Attack on the Clones because Obi-Wan gets sidelined again. I don't know. I don't think that was intentional, obviously, but it just feels like Obi-Wan went on another side mission. Like he was just not part of the main missions. I really wish they were all together. Again, that's a wish. I feel like the story still worked, but it ran into the same problems that Attack of the Clones did. It's like we hear about how Anakin and Obi-Wan have this great relationship, but they are apart from each other in all of Attack of the Clones. So it's like this thing did the same exact problem that Attack of the Clones had. Like Obi-Wan goes on the side mission to talk to Jabba, and it just fits Obi-Wan, obviously, to deal with scum and villainy. Uh, and obviously, it's a foreshadowing of what's to come for Obi-Wan, as that will become his home in the timeline within 3 years. But anyways, yeah, it's just my big complaint about that. Either have all three together, because when all three of them together are Christophsis, I actually really enjoy that stuff. That dialogue, that banter, you can start to see the friendship and triangle sort of forming. So that's how I feel about that. Um, this this isn't even a complaint of the movie, but like, what happened to Jabba's son? I really wish there was more to that. The Clone Wars. Um, it's alluded to that there's another hut on Tatooine, I believe, or is that a Rancor? I'm not sure. In one of the Aftermath books, it's either a hut or a Rancor. What happened to Jabba's son? We see him in the Book of Boba Fett. I doubt it. I really feel like that the Clone Wars movie is such a weird thing that they probably won't touch it again. But like, what actually happened? Like, I don't think there's a canonical answer to that question. Like, what actually? Like, there's a canon answer for everything. How Aurra Singh died. Like, basically, the Solo movie that we reviewed last week is just a canon answer to everything we want to know about Han Solo. So why is there not a canon answer to what happens to Jabba's son? I said droid humor. I'm a sucker for it. Uh, I really love the scene where they're on Teth and the droid is pointing. It's just pointing at the ground. I laugh every time. I think droid humor is great. It's stupid. It's funny. It's a cartoon. It just works. It fits. Again, the Battle of Teth, the pacing feels off. Like they're like again, this goes back to the earlier point I was alluding to about repetitive pacing. Like the movie just kept doing the same thing. Like, yeah, Anakin, Ahsoka in trouble. Battle starts. They fight. They're in trouble again. Obi-Wan comes out. Obi-Wan saves the day, or the Jedi or the Republic or whoever. It's just felt like that with Christophsis and Teth. And it's a whole like I think what really destroys the pacing is it's just action. It's just straight action. There's not a lot of good dialogue in this. Very few. Ahsoka and Anakin, some of their interactions. I like one on Tatooine. I like a couple on Christophsis, Ahsoka and Rex's. There's not many lines of dialogue that I absolutely adore from this. So like this is just one big action piece, and like once you get over the animation, it's okay. Um, but some of it's just not great. Like I just saw droids getting destroyed, like characters I don't care about. Again, appealing to kids, but for the wider audience, it just doesn't work for me at all. It just feels off. Um, I allude to this again later in my notes. I said I feel really bored watching this. Like I just got bored of watching it. Um, there are movies that I find boring, but I never necessarily find myself like I was so disinterested. Like I had to pause at some points. And again, I know this is supposed to be four episodes into one movie. Um, but like it just feels off. This feels like there's two distinct plots. They should have just committed to one or the other. It's very problematic to me. Um, how like it's just two plots. You introduce the Jabba thing, but they're like, nah, they're on Christophsis first. Either do the whole Christophsis arc as a movie, and I don't think those were ready yet. Those episodes I was alluded to earlier from season two, I think, and later in season one, I think one of them's from. Why not do that as a movie? You could introduce Ahsoka later into it and be like, yeah, I'm excited to see that. Or do the whole Jabba thing, but just expand upon that more. Again, it just felt off. And again, I allude to the action sequences. Like, there's way too many. Like, we barely get time to breathe with the characters. Like, we go from Christophsis. We got the first battle. Oh, plan. Oh, second battle. And then we got, oh, breathe on the ship. Teth battle. Oh, Anakin, Ahsoka, get the Jabba's son. Oh, Ventress arrives. Like it just like so many action sequences that again I don't care about. You have to make me care about the action that's happening. Well, some of it's appealing, some of it's good. The droid humor part where Rex is like, "We have you outnumbered," and his droid starts to count. That's good. That's cool and all, but like the rest of the action sequences, I just really don't care about. You know, again, I highlight it in my notes. Jedi get pinned. Jedi need help. Help doesn't arrive. Help arrives. They finally escape and win. That's just basically what's happening in this movie. A lot of repetitive plot points. Obi-Wan's banter's been really good, and I think that's referred to the fight with Ventress. I actually really enjoy that fight. Um, Obi-Wan's great at it. James Arnold Taylor does a great job of voicing him. I hope he gets to play him more. It's something. Um, but yeah, I thought it was really good, the banter, and I thought the fight itself was pretty good. Um, Ventress is an interesting character that I think the Clone Wars does a great job of expanding upon and her lore. I haven't read Dark Disciple yet. I'm going to. Is that what it's called? With Quinlan and her. That I really wish was a Clone Wars arc. That would have been really cool. I like her as a bounty hunter. Like I just like her story a lot, and this was, I think, an appropriate introduction as Dooku's assassin, sort of like Maul was Palpatine's assassin. That's referred to in the Plagueis novel, but in canon, I believe it's alluded to that we don't know when Palpatine killed Plagueis. It happens at the Phantom Menace in the Plagueis book, but we don't. I don't think we have a canonical answer to that. But anyways, I really enjoyed the Ventress introduction. The Teth battle took really long. Again, I think I'm kind of going over the same thing here. I allude to the fact that this definitely should have been four episodes and not one movie. Well, they should have reworked it to where it's either focusing on the Jabba thing or it's focusing on the Christophsis thing. I feel like it would have been a much better thing. Would have fit. Padme's in the final 15 minutes of this film. I totally forgot that Padme was in this. We kind of were like, oh, okay, we need to remake this deal with Jabba. So let's go get Zero the Hutt, who's on Coruscant. And Padme's in the final 15 minutes of this. If it was a four episode arc type of thing, then I would get it. It would make sense. But this doesn't make sense. She is not in any of the movie. Like it's established, yes, we need a senator, we need somebody to spy. Of course, it's gonna be Padme. But like, it just doesn't work for me because like I spent an hour and 15 minutes. Now she's in the movie. Like you could have had some. Like I understand we're trying to introduce all the big players who is going to be in the show, but like I just feel like it doesn't work. I think her stuff was pretty good with her escape and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, let's have 3PO. We have R2, it's like have the whole game there, but it just doesn't work. for me at all. Not a lot works. Anakin has a deep line where he talks about not wanting to talk about his past. I think this is like the best line, where he goes back to Tatooine, and then the Anakin and Dooku fight is pretty good. Uh, Obviously Dooku's animation, his character model is bad, but besides that, it's just I love that dialogue where he talks about I don't want to talk about my past. What did I tell you, Snips? Like it's just very deep, and the movie doesn't do a great job of uh, starting the seeds of Anakin's turn. I feel like as we see Anakin more in the Clone Wars, it works, especially in later seasons. Um, but it doesn't do that. Minus this line where he talks about his childhood or a little bit or alludes to it, and it kind of gets Ahsoka's head turning. And I really like that. And my final note was this movie is straight up boring, but some good moments, but overall not great. A 4 out of 10, and that is the lowest I've ever given anything on this podcast. It includes Bad Batch episodes, that includes Marvel's Loki, that includes What If. Like that's the lowest. That includes the movies we watched. That is that includes re-reviews of like the Dark World. This was bad. This was the worst thing I think I've watched in a while, and I personally really enjoyed it as a kid. Um, but yeah, I did not enjoy this at all. There's not a lot of memorable moments. Most of it's boring, draggy, and too much action. So that's going to recap that. Um, the second topic I want to move into is DC fandom. So DC fandom was this Saturday. We had um, DC fandom. I'm gonna share the screen and just a picture of DC fandom. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when I go back and I might edit these videos. But DC fandom right here, pretty good poster, I thought. Uh, but anyways, let's move into DC fandom. Now I heard the event. I didn't watch the event itself. I was busy. I was at football games, a high school football game, so I didn't get a chance to go and watch it. But I wasn't gonna watch it anyways. It's a 4 hour long event with like three things I care about. Really was only one. Two of the others captivated my eye, and we'll talk about that. I think the big four things that were good to me. I actually enjoyed the Peacemaker trailer. I didn't really watch Suicide Squad. I don't think I'd have to go and check it out. But James Gunn's the Suicide Squad, obviously. But I really enjoyed the Peacemaker trailer. I think John Cena sold me. It's gonna be weird, quirky. It's gonna be the first, I think, DC thing on HBO Max. I think they got Batgirl, and some other live action Blue Beetle, I believe. Right? So maybe HBO Max is something I invest in. Uh, if my thing is like DC is not at the point yet where I care about their cinematic universe yet, where like I have to watch everything. If they get to that point with like the Batman, Black Adam, Flash, Shazam 2, and Aquaman 2, and like Wonder Woman 3, and whatever, like if it starts to connect and they build towards another Justice League, then I'll start to really care. But besides that, go back to the Peacemaker trailer. I thought it was funny. I thought it was quirky. I love how James Gunn uses weird and obscure characters. And yeah, overall, I might even get HBO Max. I don't have it. I might get it just to watch that. Other DC shows that come out or other just projects in general. Number three for me was The Flash. I really enjoyed the teaser. There's a lot of questions I have. And Alex is a big Flash fan, obviously the CW Flash. I'm not sure his thoughts on the Justice League and Ezra Miller. Um, Interesting guy. That's all I'll say on that. But I thought the teaser was good. I really enjoyed the suit. The helmet felt off. I personally like the Justice League suit more, Zack Snyder's Justice League suit more. Obviously, they're going to do the Flashpoint storyline, which is, I don't know much about it, but I believe it's along the lines of Barry going back to save his mother, and that creates an alternate timeline. We see the back shot of Michael Keaton, the back of his cowl. We see his cowl, I believe, on the ground, on the floor. We got a picture from the director a few months ago, showing us his cowl, or not his cowl, his suit, with blood on it. And I think that's what was shown in the trailer. I am not sure what happens to him. I'm really interested to see because I think it could be one or two things. Obviously, we got a second Flash. We don't know the villain for this either. So I think later in that film, that second Flash we see with a Batman suit. Again, I'm not sure who that is from. Is it from Ben Affleck? I don't think so. How does Ben Affleck play into this? Like, how does he interact with Michael Keaton's Batman? Like, what's going on? I still have a lot of questions, and I don't know where it's going. So that's why I'm kind of concerned with it. This is a multiversal movie. I don't think we're at that point in the DC yet, but I think the DC is doing it for a different reason. It's been rumored Daniel RPK was talking about this, that it's rumored it's going to revisit other times from the DC universe and give them alternate takes to kind of give us an alternate timeline where they could kind of do rebuild the DC EU. I'm not sure if I'm too big of a fan of that, especially if you've already had 7, 8 movies trying to build this universe. And I just gonna be like, yeah, we gotta start over. We'll use the Flash. It would make sense. Um, yeah, so I wonder what they're gonna do. I think that other Flash becomes like the reverse Flash or something along those lines. And he's gonna hate that Barry's gotta let his mother die. And yeah, how does Keaton play into this? Like, does Keaton stay? Is this Ben Affleck's exit? Does Ben Affleck die? Does Keaton die? I still have a lot of questions. That's my big concern, I think. Um, the number two was the Black Adam teaser. Uh, kind of question why The Rock was playing a superhero. Um, but I absolutely adored it. Um, I thought it was great, and I think it's going to be a rated R film just by the teaser we got. I mean, that was crazy. I literally gasped when I saw him come down and him literally like electrocute that guy in his hands. It was pretty cool. Obviously, he talked about how that was a scene at the beginning of the movie. I don't even know who Black Adam is. I didn't know who he was until this movie was announced. I don't know anything about him. I don't read comics as it is. I hear people talk about him. So I'm generally like really stoked for that. Now it's gonna be weird to see The Rock playing a character that seems serious and dark. They talk about the hierarchy of the DC universe changing. That's the tagline for this movie. Is Superman not in this universe? What's going on with Cavill? That's my big question from it. Um, so yeah, that's how we feel about the Bat or the Black Adam uh teaser. I again really enjoyed it. Dark. I think I'm gonna love it. And finally, we got to see our second look at the Batman. It's our first look in about a year. With the film finished, I'm just gonna highlight some of the things I loved. I love that the Riddler looks great. The Riddler looks like a not a menacing villain, I guess you would say, but a psychotic villain that is going to mesmerize and just try to outsmart our our Batman. This feels like a detective movie, and I feel like that's something we're missing for Batman. We get a lot of action with Keaton. We get Bale, The Dark Knight, and uh, this one I feel like it's going to be darker, and it's a year two Batman. So a lot of the Batman stories we've gotten are him established as Bruce Wayne. So like I can't wait to see a live action adaptation of Bruce Wayne, of the persona of Bruce Wayne becoming personified, and then Batman. How does Batman deal with criminals? How does he deal with the Riddler? And I think this Robert Pattinson Batman, just by his mannerisms, the way his mouth moves, like his facial expressions, like he's crazy, like he's psychotic. We see the Penguin think that he's killed him, and then he's like growling, and then he's coming, and then it has the big money shot that I absolutely love. With it's from the Penguin's point of view, and it's the Batman coming at him. Um, so that was really good. I can't wait to see what they do with the Riddler. Um, the Catwoman. Catwoman looks really good, and I'm hoping this is the best live action adaptation of Catwoman. I don't think we've got a really good one. Um, yeah, overall, I am really ecstatic for this film. It just feels dark. It feels like a detective story. Um, and it has like Matt Reeves obviously does a lot of horror films, and I feel like this film is shot beautifully. I don't think there's no way the Batman can be rated R, and it just wouldn't make sense for that character. Obviously, DC, this is big money film for them, right? So it would make sense for them to make the Batman rated R. But anyways, besides that, I think it's really great. Um, the way this film's shot, the darkness, the grittiness, even like as much as I love um, Christopher Nolan's, it doesn't feel as dark as that. And I like Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck is the most accurate, comic accurate Batman, and I'm kind of biased as somebody who lives in the Northeast. Bostonians represent. Um, but I just I feel like Rob Pattinson's gonna be the best Batman, and I wouldn't have said that a week ago. I wasn't a huge fan of the first Batman teaser. I'm just like, I'm not sold on this dude as Batman yet. But as a year one or year two Batman, absolutely, I am sold as him as a younger Batman. Build his universe, build him up. How does he play into the rest of the universe? I'm not sure yet. I assume the multiverse will bring him in at some point, but that's way down the line. I can't wait to see this trilogy. Andy Serkis looks great as Alfred. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon. Uh, like I am really excited to see all of that come into play. But again, we don't even know what this movie is about, and I'm just so excited. We don't even have a synopsis. We just seen a bunch of scenes of the Batman trying to solve this mystery that the Riddler's got going on. Which, by the way, the question mark is a nice touch in the coffee. Um, we have a lot of stuff that is really good, and I think uh, Reeves has even taken stuff that I love from Nolan's trilogy, like the interrogation scene he has with the Riddler that we see in the trailer is very reminiscent of the one that we see with the Joker in The Dark Knight. So I wonder if they're going to do a little something with that, kind of give us some callbacks. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think, and by the way, the scene where the hallway is literally lit by gun bullets is just fantastic. I saw people complaining that he was taking gunshots. It's like whatever, and yeah, it is kind of stupid. Just lift the guns up, but you can't see, so you don't know what's going on. So that's the real world answer to it. I don't care either way. It just looked cool. I love the darkness, the grittiness, like I was saying. I'm super ecstatic. And um, I don't talk about it. I think I talk about it a little bit here. I love grounded superhero projects. That's why I love Falcon and the Winter Soldier. When it's earthbound, when it doesn't get too fantastical, I love it. As much as I love my fantasy, like Star Wars and even Marvel stuff that deals with the cosmic realm. I love grounded superhero stuff, and that's why I like the character Batman, Spider-Man. I like the Falcon and Winter Soldier as I was alluding to. I like it a lot more than most people because it's grounded. And I just love that. It's easier to relate to the character, and I'm really excited for that. So we are going to move into the Eternals now. Yesterday was the premiere. I just want to preface this: we will not be talking spoilers here. I know one of the post-credit scenes. I think two of them are out there. I know one of them at least, and I might make a TikTok on this, but for now, I'm just gonna kind of rant on here about my thoughts on it. We need to just get rid of premieres. I'm gonna be honest, get rid of them or have them the Sunday before, not 2 weeks before. And you should have to sign a contract if you go. You'll lose your badge forever, never be able to come. Your social media accounts should be banned. And if you're like somebody who works at like Variety or works at Deadline or works wherever at those Hollywood trades, you should lose a job. That should be the contract right there, because you're you're supposed to tell me the average folk to go and see a not spoil the movie for the diehard. And one of the post credit scenes, I found out who a specific someone is playing in the MCU moving forward, and that's all I'll say on that. Um, and I didn't care because I haven't seen the scene yet. Like I knew about Spider-Man being in Venom a month before, or whenever that press screen happened in London. I didn't tell Alex about it because Alex is not that type of person. But for me personally, I don't care if I know what characters are there, as just long as I don't see the scene to like go and see the movie. But other people don't feel that way, and it's kind of ridiculous to me that we have a major publication that's reported on a character when they know that the review embargo isn't lifted, and it's supposed to just be a light review, like a non-spoiler review embargo that lifts October the 24th. You're supposed to just put your reaction, quick synopsis. Now you're supposed to review details of the film. So, like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do that? But, anyways, guys, I'm gonna rant too long on that. Let's go and look over the critics' reactions. This is coming from us over at the MCU Direct, and we'll just read some of the synopsis or the brief plot points. Eric Davis from Fandango said it's spectacularly weird and rich. I bet in that it was honestly refreshing. You're gonna hear a lot of that with this movie, guys. Refreshing, and dense. You hear the word dense a lot. Hollywood Reporter said the most different of any Marvel films. That's a really good thing. I heard a lot that this feels more like a Chloe Zhao film than it does an MCU film, which I'm really excited for. Spotlights the character's humanity. I'm really excited to see that. Obviously, a new team. I kind of don't want an Avengers feel. I don't want a Guardians feel. I don't want an X-Men feel. Like, I want a little something different. The story is an expository, convoluted mess and has an uneven tone. This one kind of worries me. I'm not sure who this person is, but I could see that. This one says that uh, Chloe Zhao's distinctive style is sadly absent. It's interesting. Most ambitious Marvel movie ever made. I hate that tagline, but a lot of, again, this person's a Chloe Zhao movie, so that makes me think that yeah, it's out there, it's different. It's not going to feel like an MCU film to us, uh, which I'm really excited for. Um, the next one's from Brandon Davis over at the comic book. Um, Again, so you guys can see it. Uh, Great surprises, and that Kumail Nanjiani steals every scene. I think he's going to be great. I think he's absolutely hilarious. Richard Nevins praised the film's great action visuals, though that's it. That were some expected twist. Okay, yeah, I could see that. Major Marvel gear shift. The film focuses more on relationship between characters rather than action scenes, and I absolutely love that. Alex, like I was talking about the Clone Wars movie, like I absolutely will prioritize a good story. I can't wait. Sometimes Eternals feels like a DC film, though he made sure to note this comparison isn't negative. I've heard a lot of people say this feels like a Zack Snyder film. I wonder how that's going to play because I am lukewarm on Zack Snyder. Again, I haven't seen a Chloe Zhao film, but I know she's a fantastic director, and I can't wait to see um, what she has in store for us. And we'll have to wait and see. But from these early reactions, they're overwhelmingly positive, and it definitely seems like, guys, that we're going to begin something different in the MCU. I was thinking about it the other day, and I haven't been. I'm very excited for this film. When the 2021 release slate was finally finalized, I think my excitement went from Black Widow, Shang-Chi to Eternals to Spider-Man No Way Home. So it went in order of its release. We're kind of building up to Spider-Man No Way Home, which I really like. But I am really excited. I'm way more excited for this movie than I was Shang-Chi. Excited to meet these characters. I love the aesthetic. I love the vibe. I already like these characters and I haven't seen them. And with what I got teased from the post-credit scene, I am really intrigued by what they're going to set up in the future. Like, how many projects do we get from this film? Do we see these characters again? What does the somebody was saying, I think it was John Campion touched on it a little bit. Like, this movie is so vast and expansive that it's going to blow the rest of the MCU away, even Avengers Endgame. Like what how we see the MCU will change after this film. And I can't wait to get a breath of a breath of fresh air after we've gotten some formulaic things. I think Shang-Chi was, while it was great, unique, dealt with a new world building. I loved it, but this is a universe builder, and I am really excited to see that. And we've gotten some formulaic things: Black Widow, Falcon, WandaVision broke away a little bit, still felt like the MCU. But Eternals, if it feels like a Chloe Zhao film, it's Oscar award winning territory. Like even John Campion was saying, Martin Scorsese, he thinks will walk out of the film and say that is cinema. So I feel like this movie, though, I was thinking about it. If that's the case, it's got a chance to be the Last Jedi. Because if it doesn't feel like a comic book movie, then I think the average comic book person wouldn't like it. But if the average moviegoer likes it, then that's a good thing. I think the average moviegoer might like it, but the diehards, we might be in between. We might be split on it. So we'll have to just wait and see. But I'm really excited and hopeful. Hopefully, it's not a Last Jedi effect. But anyways, guys, we got two more topics to move into. They're kind of related to each other. We'll first move on to Marvel Studios announced last week that Hawkeye will premiere its first two episodes on November the 24th. Obviously, we knew November the 24th was going to be the release date for Hawkeye, but now it officially has two episodes. So the show will end on the Wednesday before Christmas instead of the Wednesday after Christmas, avoiding the Book of Boba Fett. And I didn't get time to do show notes for this week, but I was thinking, and I was going to ask Alex, but I'll talk about it just myself here, obviously because Alex isn't here. That I wonder if this is the model moving forward for Marvel and Star Wars on Disney Plus. Because we were supposed to have an overlap between Loki and the Bad Batch. Loki was moved to Wednesday, then everything was moved to Wednesday after the success of Loki's first episode on Wednesday in June. Um, and Disney Plus obviously saw it, or Disney saw numbers that suggested that we can release our stuff on Wednesdays. It will work. Obviously, avoiding Netflix and major theatrical releases. Um, so that made a lot of sense to me. Um, but we were going to have an overlap between Loki's, or not Loki, Hawkeye's finale and the Book of Boba Fett episode one. And I talked with Alex about it. I remember talking and said, I don't mind it. It's going to be busy and hectic for us and people who create content. And it might be too much for the average person, but I was really enjoying it. I think that's cool. You know, we get the ending of one thing and the start of a new thing. But I kind of like this better. And I wonder if this is the model moving forward, as I was alluding to. And I think it depends. Um, it depends on a number of things, like when is the project ending? Like, for example, the Book of Boba Fett's going on. Miss Marvel is supposed to premiere during the Book of Boba Fett's fifth week. The Book of Boba Fett Agent's going to release three episodes to end the season. So it's going to depend on that. It might take some coordination between Marvel and Star Wars, but I think we are going to get to a point where they're gonna have to overlap. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Marvel are going to have that discussion with Disney, but I think they're going to want to release everything on Wednesdays. Now, I don't think Star Wars is going to have to worry about it for a little bit because of the Miss Marvel rumors we've been hearing. Some of the stuff for Marvel has been delayed. And I think subsequently that will mean that some of the Disney Plus shows will be delayed because, you know, we need to have things in a certain order in order for it to fit within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this must have been a conversation they've been having, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I think this might be the model moving forward. They're going to try to space them out as much as possible. So maybe we don't get all those Star Wars shows in a year, or maybe we don't get all those Marvel shows in the same year, or we do. But I think it's that decision's going to have to be made at some point. At some point, we're just prolonging the inevitable here, you know. I like how we are um, separating the two. I'm excited to have two Hawkeye episodes on one day, and the show be 5 weeks long, but with 6 episodes. Um, I dropped my AirPod, but yeah, I think it's gonna work for now. But what happens when we got She-Hulk and Kenobi at the same time? Like Kenobi's on episode 2, but She-Hulk's got a premiere, so it's like you have to drop them on the same day, and you're gonna watch Kenobi over She-Hulk. That's just what's gonna happen. Then you're gonna have Andor and Moon Knight. That's like a toss-up to me, more two toss-up projects. It just depends on the type of person. So, like, how do they deal with that? How does Marvel and Star Wars collab on that? Do they communicate? Why did they not come up with this decision before? When did it all depends. It's all circumstantial, I think. Uh, but this decision just like prolongs the inevitable. Like, what are they going to do? We haven't gotten anything. We might get something on Disney Plus Day, like with release dates. I think that's very possible for the Star Wars and Marvel side. So, specifically for 2022, that's what Disney Plus Day is going to be for. But anyways, let us move in to our final topic, guys. Our final topic is about Disney delaying a bunch of films, guys. Not just Marvel, but Disney has delayed release plans for several upcoming films, including Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness from March the 25th to May 6th, so about 6 weeks. Thor Love and Thunder from May 6th to July 8th, about 2 months. Black Panther from July 8th to November 11th, about 4 months. Uh, and The Marvels has been postponed to early 2023, I believe February. And Ant-Man and the Wasp was bumped from February 17th, July 28th, 2023, being after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Guardians wasn't delayed, which I'm not sure why. I have a couple of theories as to Ant-Man, the Wasp, and the Quantumania. Um, we know Jonathan Majors is reprising his role as He Who Remains and will play Kane the Conqueror more specifically in this movie. I think this movie is the the big climactic event of the multiverse saga, and it's going to be a big catalyst to the MCU moving forward, and it's going to cause big cataclysmic changes. And I feel like it being the last thing so far that has been announced will make sense because this movie is being slept on. This movie is going to be a big building block for the rest of the MCU as we know it. It's going to change a lot of things. It's going to introduce Kane the Conqueror, who will be the big bad for the rest of Phase 4, in my opinion. So that's why I think that's like the last thing right now. It's after Guardians. Um, the rest of these are being delayed, obviously, because there's something with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Um, something might not be done with that movie, or they kind of want to get there's two options, I think. One is they're just behind on it, and that could be very much the case. We're not sure with the strike and whatever. Maybe they were worried about that. Maybe they're not done with the VFX or like the just visuals and reshoots. They need to rework some things, and they're like, "We'll give you 2 more months." Or I think option B might even be more the case for this film, is they want some time for us to breathe between Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2. I think very much these movies are part A and part B. Like Spider-Man's the Infinity War, Doctor Strange is the Endgame. There is more to the multiversal saga, but Doctor Strange 2 is the big cataclysmic event that is caused by the events in Spider-Man No Way Home. And we'll deal with and that movie will be another big setup film for how the multiverse works, I guess. We've kind of been getting little clues in Loki and WandaVision. We'll probably get some in Spider-Man No Way Home, but that will be the answer movie. And then we won't get a lot of multiversal stuff, I think, until Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, when we finally introduce the multiversal threat, which will be Kane the Conqueror, and then we'll get our heroes introduced and joined back together at some point before like 2024, 2025. Or I could see that. I could see like the Avengers 5 being them fighting Kane in 2025. Because we have to remember the MCU was very different than it was a decade ago, where they just released one movie. Now they're releasing 10 projects a year, where it's five, six Disney Plus shows, four movies. But anyways, back to the movie thing. I don't think Doctor Strange 2 is quite done yet. And I also think that they want to give us some time to breathe, like we did with Infinity War and Endgame, with those two films shot back to back. Um, and I think it's No Way Home. Just we need some time to breathe after that. And I don't know what they're gonna do with the Disney Plus shows. I assume maybe some or one of those will be delayed a little bit. Just because Feige likes to space these things out in order for them to make sense with the whole timeline and make sense, watching wise and viewing wise, but maybe not. I feel like Miss Marvel and Moon Knight and possibly She-Hulk, they won't have to be moved as much. Um, we're just gonna have to wait and see on that. Indiana Jones got delayed for another year. Obviously, Harrison Ford. This is non-related to Marvel, but Harrison Ford was injured. He was out for 6 weeks, but they moved the movie back a year. I am not sure why they're doing all of this. I think there's another possibility that Disney thinks they can make more money in these time slots. They just need a little bit more time. They need to reevaluate their marketing. I'm not sure. It just seems like a very odd move, especially since the momentum the box office has been having. Halloween Kills did really good this past week. Venom obviously smashed the record. Venom Let There Be Carnage for post-pandemic movies. Uh, Bond did really well in England. Like, there's been a lot of triumphs in the movie box office these past 3 months since Black Widow and Fast and Furious 9. People are going back to the movie theaters. So I'm really curious as to why they did it. I think the most likely answer on the Marvel side is that Doctor Strange 2 um, needs a little bit more time, and they kind of want to space Spider-Man No Way Home and that movie out. But besides that, I am not really sure. And that will be our final topic of the day, guys. Uh, we talked about the Clone Wars movie. We talked about that for about 20 minutes. Then we had four other topics that we talked about over the past 30 minutes. We talked a little bit about DC Fandome, my thoughts. Talked a little bit about the Eternals premiere and my thoughts on the spoilers that have been going around. I don't give spoilers. I just complain um, about people spoiling stuff, especially if they get to go to a premiere. We talked about Eternals premiere reactions. We talked about Hawkeye having 2 episodes on its premiere day, and will that be the model moving forward for Disney Plus shows, either Star Wars, Marvel, or anything else? We also talked finally about the Marvel movies being delayed, why I think they're being delayed, why I think they're being delayed from a practical standpoint, and why, from a viewing standpoint, they are being delayed. So yeah, guys, let's go to wrap it up. Alex will be back next week. He was just busy. Today he found out he was busy. Tomorrow he's busy. Thursday he's busy. He's been a busy guy. I've been busy. But we'll be back to our normal day. Wednesday, October 27th, we will be back for a Rogue One re-review. And then in 2 weeks we'll have our Eternals preview. And next week I'll finally get to announce the November calendar. We start to get busy in November, guys. It's going to be a fun end of the year. So, going to wrap up the show. I will see you all next Wednesday.